Welcome to Disabled Expectations. When you're a dad raising a child with a disability, nothing is as you planned. These are the raw, honest stories of dads whose lives changed the day they heard a diagnosis and who continue to show up, adapt, and fight for their families every day. This isn't about lowering expectations, it's about redefining them. I'm Andy, and this is Disabled Expectations. Well, thanks for joining us. This is Disabled Expectations, and today I've got a doozy. This is actually one of my best friends, and this is Baron Grutter, and we're so excited to have you on the show. He's a husband, he's a dad, he's one of the best dentists, and like I said, he's a great friend. So Baron, thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah, I've actually been kind of nervous because I feel like it could potentially be like a 5-hour episode. Like all the questions I have for you. Don't be nervous.
Oh no. Yeah. I'll try not
You're
to.
nervous. I can tell
I'll try not to. If I have to go to the bathroom, I'm sorry. Make me a little nervous.
So with all the questions I have, I kind of just want to jump right in. And so I thought you could tell us briefly about your family and why you are such a big Lions fan.
Okay. I wore this just for you. Yeah. I actually have this too, if you want.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we're both in Michigan, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Fair enough.
Go ahead. I'll let you take over.
Okay, so I am a Lions fan. For the record of anyone watching, they're my NFC team, but I lived for 15 years in Kansas City. Well, 5 of them were in Iowa, but basically you're in Kansas City as close as I was. But anyway, so family, I've got 4 kids. I've got Bowen, who's 13, Nella is 11, Corwin is 7, and Trixie, she's Beatrice, but Trixie is 2. So yeah, we've got a big family. And yeah, I mean, we moved back to Michigan 3.5 years ago. And I grew up here where you and I both live here in Rockford, Michigan. And I went to high school here, and I graduated high school with your wife, Laura. Boom. And that's how we met. And that's actually, we met through Facebook in the sense of Laura, I believed, followed Nella, originally my daughter that's medically fragile. And when Briella was diagnosed, I think she reached out maybe to me, then Grace. I don't think even me. I think I just got bypassed. I think went straight to Grace probably. Right. And then they connected, became friends online. And then next thing you know, I mean, years later, we're hey, we're going to move back to Rockford. And then within 6 months, you guys moved to Rockford too, I think. I mean, if it was that close, time. So
your wife plays a big role. Laura says our daughter is on a vent at night, like yours, and we were really struggling with the mask, and Grace was like the one that recommended the mask that worked the best for the longest, and she was a huge resource. You guys are we'll hear about that, but that's been awesome. So our wives knew each other for years before. Like you and I knew each other, but you knew my wife, even before that, just from high school and stuff. But I remember I met you at our boys were in the same baseball league for just one season. Yeah. And I remember coming up to you and making some comment about your biceps or something. And
probably. Wouldn't be the first time,
right? And,
like 10 minutes ago.
I can't help it. Okay, but yeah, I didn't really have a clue who you were, but then ever since that moment, we've kind of become friends and gotten to know each other a lot better. So you have 4 kids. Life is a little busy. I can relate to that. I also have 4 kids, but for this conversation, Nella's going to be more of the focus. And so tell me about Nella. And when I say that, like, that's kind of a brutal question. right? Like, it's like,
I'm
tell me
sorry. I'm laughing
about your
because
wife.
Grace is in the background. She's like, she's trying to hide in my shadow. Sorry. I
I love it.
apologize.
It's good. No,
Finish
it's
the
the first
question.
time
I'm
I've had.
sorry.
It's the first time I've had 3 people in the show.
Yeah,
So
I know. Yeah.
this is exciting.
I'm in my kitchen. And I've got this beautiful reflection off
It's
the,
great.
yeah, it's great. Yeah. Maybe we should have done this in like May when we move and I'll actually have a place that's not the kitchen.
I think we
Anyway,
should have done it, each of us in our saunas. That probably would have been the
that
most
would have been
ideal.
great.
Yeah.
That would have been great. We both would have been cold because yours doesn't get past 100 degrees and mine doesn't get past room temperature out there right now.
Oh yeah,
So
there's that minor detail.
So, yeah, you know.
So my original question was, Nella, what is Nella's official diagnosis? We'll start with that, and then I'll have a lot of questions that come from your answer.
Okay. So Nella is she has type 1 SMA, spinal muscular atrophy. It is a neuromuscular condition. And basically she does not produce sufficient protein as survival of motor neuron protein, which basically without that, the motor neurons, responsible for motor activity, meaning moving your arms, walking, that kind of thing, most of your skeletal muscles, the neurons don't survive. And so the muscles, although they're properly developed and designed and what we want to say, they just don't get the electrical signal and they atrophy, at lack of use. So that's why the spinal muscular atrophy, but it's all caused by that. And so it's a condition that is, again, it's neuromuscular, but the biggest impact is that, functionally speaking, she doesn't have the ability to move around. Cognitively, there's no impact there, but fortunately, but she, her body just does not work for her the way it needs to, or she needs it to. So there's a lot of support that's required because she also gets tired easily, in the sense of breathing and things like that are just a lot of work for her against gravity. So she's on a vent, not because she can't breathe on her own. She'll be off of her vent for an hour here or there when we need to, but for the most part, she's on it full time, and she does have a trach. And that's something I'm getting way into the weeds right now, but she does have a trach. I can talk about that, whatever, but yeah, that's her diagnosis. And so biggest support is respiratory, because getting a cold, getting a virus that's the Achilles heel of these kids, I would say. There's other things that play into it, but I would say that's, if you're going to name one thing is the biggest fear, is a respiratory infection, because she can't cough. She doesn't have the ability to produce a cough. So we have to help clear things for her multiple times a day, doing treatments and things like that. But other than that, she's chill. She's, again, cognitively, she's unfortunately unimpacted by it, but she just has a different life.
Right. So SMA, is this considered rare, or what are the numbers for that? Okay. I'm asking you that because you're just the guy that knows these things. Like, I wouldn't ask everybody, but it seems like
I know things, and then it's one of those things where you forget when you don't focus on it. It's like you learn so much in the moment, like all sorts of care stuff when you're like, when she's sick, all the protocols, like I know all this, and then she's healthy for 2 months and you're like, wait a minute, oh no, what did I need? What was that? And anyway, so yeah, back to your actual question. It is considered a rare disease, but it is and it isn't, because 1 in 35 Caucasian individuals is a carrier of this recessive trait. So I want to say it's just shy of 40, just among the population in general, but so yeah, it's like roughly 1 in 6,000 births are impacted by it. There's various levels. Type 1, there is type 0, but that's very rare. Type 2, they tend to be wheelchair bound for life, but they're much stronger. Type 3, they may be able to walk, walk with assistance. Maybe later in life they'll be wheelchair bound. And then if I recall correctly, there is a type 4, but it's
Wow.
you're not going to know it by seeing them. So, and
Yeah.
the weird thing about it is you're not going to take a blood test or any test and tell you, oh, this person's type 1, this is type 2. It is quite literally, well, I mean, again, maybe maybe things have changed since I learned this from, reading about it. It's all symptomatic. It's when do the symptoms kick in? In the first 6 months, they're going to be type 1. 6 to 18 months, type 2. And it goes to show, if it's going to kick in, you're going to see symptoms within the first 6 months. They're not going to develop to crawl. They're just never going to get there. So if they're in between 6 to 12 months, they've already started crawling. Well, you might be able to maintain that. Again, I'm kind of oversimplifying things, but it's not. The type is not is determined by the symptoms timeline.
So SMA it creates a lot of medical complexities.
Hey, Andy, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. But you want to complete one thought. I just realized you asked about rarity.
Yeah.
There's treatments for it now, but there wasn't when she was diagnosed. Okay. So when she was diagnosed, it was at that time, it was listed as the #1 terminal genetic cause of death among infants.
Wow. And how long ago was this?
Well, so she's 11. She was diagnosed at 2. Well, it was a little over 11 years ago because she's 11 plus, So
the #1
genetic cause of death among infants. And it was the #2 genetic cause of death, period. #1 being cystic fibrosis.
Wow. So,
and the cystic fibrosis is like 1 in 32 are carriers. And again, 1 in 35 for SMA. So sorry, you talked about rarity. Those are now that there are treatments. Same with cystic fibrosis. There's a really cool treatment for that now that was not available 10 years ago, whatever. But anyway, with SMA in the last 5 years, roughly, there's been some remarkable changes for new diagnoses. For kids that have had it before that, it's not the same. But anyway, sorry.
So you saying that, makes me ask the question, and I wasn't planning on asking this early, but what were you expecting with Nella in terms of life expectancy when you found out?
Yeah. So Nella was first diagnosed kind of at 10 weeks, just like an emergency visit with the neurologist. And he looked at her tongue, saw her tongue fluttering because you can see the saliva glistening, and it's called tongue fasciculations. And he said, oh, she's got Wernicke-Hoffmann syndrome, which is a name for type 1 SMA. So when that was determined, so that was the diagnosis, we then actually had to come back for true blood work and saw a neurologist or a neuromuscular doc. I can't even remember. It would make sense neuromuscular, but it seems like he wasn't. Anyway, regardless, we went back to see him at the Children's Hospital, Children's Mercy in Kansas City. And at that visit, he said, okay, take her home and love her because she's probably got a few weeks to a few months to live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was,
So that was your first introduction to SMA.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, take me back to the birth. Was it a typical birth? Was there any indication that there was?
No. Day one, she was on mom's chest, lifting her head up, looking around, weekly, but like any baby, but stronger. Yeah. She was strong. She was 10 on the APGAR score. I know that. Yeah. She was just great. And it wasn't for 2.5 months where Grace, my wife, first started suspecting things at about 6 weeks, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
Started asking questions. We saw our older son, he'd had reflux and, which is common. And so we consulted with 2 different pediatric physical therapists for one reason or another. I can't remember exactly why. We knew them, but we talked with them and they both thought, and I think our pediatrician initially all thought it was reflux related, that she would, what was it related? When she would do tummy time, she hated it. She was just miserable and just would cry and just wouldn't. Again, this is child number 2 for us. Now, my wife is a pediatric nurse and she's always been a babysitter. And so she's been around babies plenty, but so she could tell it was just not a normal response, but whatever, something, but Grace felt like something wrong. And I'm
The
thinking,
moms always know.
yeah. So that was the key sign
Okay.
that she was regressing. She was not progressing. And, initially for the first, 4 weeks she was,
Yeah.
but then it started regressing, and it took another 4 weeks. And hey, no, this is not right. I know this is my wife, I'm speaking for her. I know
Right.
something's not right. It has to be something more than this. And our pediatrician on the second visit with him to talk about this 4 weeks later or whatever, he's like, you're right. There's got to be something else going on. Let me send you to the again, neuromuscular or neurologist at Kansas at the hospital. Let's get a consult. And that was the next day. Let's see what's going on. And that's that's the start of our story, if you will.
Yeah.
With the diagnosis, at least.
So when you're in Kansas City, do you have a lot of support out there? I mean, I know a lot of your family's here. I'm not sure about Grace's family, but what was that like in terms of support for you when you first in those early years?
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing we had was actually, so Grace's parents were there. So yes, they would do whatever we would ask of them for sure. They would anything that they were able to help with. We were very fortunate. My mom had coincidentally retired that year. So Nella was born in August, and that was the first year my mom was not teaching. She's a teacher for 25 or some odd years.
Wow.
So she
Cool.
had just retired. I am embarrassed to say that I didn't actually go to that initial visit where Nella was diagnosed. I was supposed to be leaving with my office on a weekend long a training thing. Okay, so it doesn't matter, practice management training course thing. And my entire team, all of my hygienist assistants, front office were going. And so this was our last day. We were doing some stuff, and then we were supposed to fly out that afternoon. So we get the notice from our pediatrician that, hey, I want you to do a consult with neurology. And we're thinking she's going to have some sort of in my mind, she might be, in a wheelchair. We're going to have some, I don't know, she's got some sort of strength, muscular. I don't know enough about to have any idea what's going on. Not what I was expecting, for sure. It was just very different. But anyway, I don't know what I thought, but hey, we talked to my on the phone. How did the doctor's visit go? Well, you know what, Mom? I'm supposed to be leaving for this weekend, and I mean, everything's set. And I mean, I feel guilty, but I'm young in my career, as a practice owner at that point. I don't know what to do. So she says, Baron, let me come out there. I'll be with Grace for the weekend, and we'll figure this out. And okay. Well, the next day is when my mom went with Grace to the doctor's visit, and that's when we got the diagnosis, the preliminary non-blood work diagnosis. And she called me up at the office, and Baron, you need to sit down. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. So I sit down and I hear the diagnosis. Of course, I didn't go on the trip. Just be clear. Right. When I got the diagnosis, my whole team did. Everyone went without me, which is cool because it was me driving this. But they're like, no, Baron, it's fine. We'll take it from here. We're gonna go. We're gonna learn what we're supposed to, because I still got a business to run. Life doesn't stop. It kind of stops, but it doesn't. So they took the bull by the horns, and they went and learned everything. And the people at the conference knew what was going on, and they took great care of them and just made sure. And they reached out to me, and I ended up going to a meeting 6 months later when life kind of settled down. I just went by myself, to learn what I had missed. But anyway, sorry. So the point being, it was that was how the whole diagnosis, the initial shock, and the timing of everything. Yeah, that I remember.
Do you remember? I know this is like you had talked about your memory, and I feel like I'm the same way. There's so many things that in the early years that were so I don't know, they were huge in our life, but then now it's man, that's hard to remember. But do you remember when you first like your response to hearing the diagnosis and then all the details that came after that? Do you remember how you felt about like what did you do? What did you know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah. So we each have our roles in a relationship, husband, wife, or whatever however the relationship works. And so I'm the optimist.
Okay.
It's going to be
I can
okay.
see that.
Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. Initially, I don't want to say I was in denial. There certainly may have been an aspect of that, but
Mhm.
I felt that I was the one that had to be optimistic that maybe it's not that.
Oh,
So, and I actually,
okay.
now I remember that it wasn't just a blood test. They actually had to do they also had to basically do, and I can't remember the name of this. I should, but I can't remember it. But basically, they put probes on muscles and check to see how it contracts and doesn't respond.
Right.
And I remember that being an EMG. She overheard that. It was an EMG. Thank you. Duh. I know that, but I don't.
She's the best.
She's the best. Yeah. So they had to do an EMG. I remember, and up until then, I'm like, they don't seem to be that certain they know how to really diagnose this. I'm like, just hold up. Let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's make sure.
Yeah.
And and it's like the progression of the condition is like watching paint dry, because she didn't
Okay.
just suddenly. She kept maturing, and there were still things that she could do. I mean, she was never going to crawl. She never did that, but she
Right.
could move her head around and move her arms around a little bit. And there was still things that she could do. And I'm like, maybe it's just not going to be as bad as they think. It's not going to. We're gonna get through it and figure it out.
So how long did that last for until it was like reality smacked you in the face and you're like, okay, she has SMA and this is it.
That's tough because our timeline got impacted by some outside factors. And what I mean by that is, for good or bad, we found out about some trials that were going on.
Okay.
And there was two different ones going on. One is basically what she gets now, actually, now that's been cleared, and it's an every 4-month administration of a medication. And it basically is, the purpose of it is more or less to help provide that protein that is needed, and to forestall any progression of the condition. Okay, so there's that one, but we're also hearing rumors about, oh my gosh, they have they believe they have developed an avian vector that can go in and alter the DNA, and it is going to change the problem, and it is going to fix it. Okay, it is effectively a cure, and it's a one-time thing.
Whoa.
So we can get into this trial for this ongoing through life treatment, or we can get into this trial for a one and done. We could have got right into but they were still building the trial. We even talked to the trial, the director and everything on it. We had a conference, and is Nella sounds like a perfect candidate for it. It has to be less than 6 months of age. So we think we can get her in, that she'd be good for this. And we're just, okay, so when's it going to start? Okay, when's it going to start? When's it going to start? It started when Nella was 7 months.
Oh man.
So Nella didn't get into it. So Nella also missed out, unfortunately, on the other treatment. Now, would she have had the great results of complete cessation by every 4 months? Not necessarily, because they didn't know doses. And it wasn't that every kid that was in the trial, was fine. It wasn't. But there's multiple stages to trials, and they upped the doses with safety and whatnot. So what she gets now is not what they were getting in the trial. So you can play the game of what if all you want. But the reason I bring all that history up is that, when did it finally kick in? 7 months.
Wow. Okay.
Because up until then, I had hope of, we're going to stop this. Okay, you know what? She might be the weakest kid in her class, but she's going to be in every class like normal. If she has to be in a wheelchair, I mean, and I don't mean to say that to people that are watching this and have kids in wheelchairs and they have their own struggles. I'm not trying to. We all have our own challenges.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I was seeing kids that were dying in their first year And that was what we were expecting. It's
Yeah.
who knows? And in that case, I hope people wouldn't feel disrespected by me saying I would love to have her in a wheelchair rather than be just waiting for her to die. So when that was the mental gymnastics I'm doing.
Yeah.
Again, so yeah, at 7 months, it was like, all right, well, this is okay. Now what you've seen on the, your friends and Facebook groups and online, what they've gone through, that's what you're going to go through now. Now, at what rate and how do you accomplish, how do you change your life, reroute, whatever, to make that work? We all have our, ways of doing that. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job of it. But, so yeah, that we were just kind of kicking the can down the road until that ball dropped. And then it was time to accept it.
All right. That's, mental gymnastics, I think, is a great image. I think a lot of guys can relate to that. Maybe not like the outfits of gymnastics, but like the actual act of gymnastics.
I know I'm sure you love wearing your singlets and whatnot.
Is it called a singlet or is it like a?
Oh yeah, like you don't know. Well, in biker world, they're called bibs.
I was thinking leotard. Is that wrong? We gotta stay focused.
Come on now.
We gotta stay focused.
Is this not a professional thing?
This is professional.
Yes.
Obviously. All right. So can you give us a picture of kind of like I'm gonna say typical day, but knowing that's might be hard. But what is it? What does a typical day of care look like for Nella? Like starting from, when you wake up, what is it? How's it start?
So, Nella usually we're all sleeper inners if possible. I mean, when I work, I'm up. I start my work day at 7. So, but my office opens 7. But otherwise, if we don't have a reason, and most of us will wake up around 8:30, including her. Okay, so so she gets up then, and then within about the first 30 minutes is just getting her up, changing her, brushing her teeth, washing her face, doing that, just the normal wake up stuff. And then it's straight into a treatment where she uses a respiratory vest. It wraps around her chest and it's like a balloon. It inflates and it just helps to break up secretions that are trapped in her lungs. And then after 20 minutes of that, we throw her on a cough assist. Sounds so brutal. We connect a cough assist to her that inflates her lungs really fast and then pulls it out. So it simulates it does that, and it does five of those coughs. Then we suction her out through her trach. Before we had a trach, it was just down in her mouth. And then we do that 5 times. Oh, sorry, four to 5. And then she sits for 15 minutes just to chill. And then we do another 4 to 5. And then breathing treatment, as we call it, there's people that have different names for that. When people are sick, breathing treatment takes on a whole different definition. But that is what we call her morning breathing treatment. And I'll just spare you that happens again at night. So there's 2 breathing treatments a day when healthy. When she's sick, it could be every 3 to 4 hours. But but when she's healthy,
shake her vest 20 minutes, and then is she doing like a nebulizer or anything before that?
No, not when healthy. Not when healthy.
Okay.
We do nebs when possibly ill, or if we think. Generally, no. We were all no. Fortunately, we have a lot of friends whose kids, SMA kids, that do saline nebs all the time. With each treatment. So that's at 8:30, 9 o'clock or so. We'll do that, and then we also do that again at 6:30. The rest of the day, she, because of her, she's laying down. That's all times. She can't sit up, just because her body can't support it. And that's a choice we've kind of made for her. There are some kids with SMA that will sit up, maybe not straight up, but at a recline. The problem is they tend to develop severe scoliosis, curvature of the spine, because they just can't support it. So you wear an AFO, TLSO. Which one's which? the chest support. I always mix up the
Yeah.
names. AFO is for your ankles, ankle foot orthotic, but TLSO, I guess. Anyway, it's a cage essentially, or a, I don't know what you want to call it, but we wear that. She's got those, but to help support the body, but it doesn't. I mean, you can only have it so tight before it's uncomfortable. So
Right.
a lot of SMA kids end up with a curvature of the spine. Then they get spinal surgery with rods to straighten them out. And I'm not saying if you do that, you're going to have to do this, but that's something always scared us. So she'll go up to a 45-degree angle at times, but she spends most of her time laying down. So it's mostly she lays on special pads so that she fortunately doesn't get bed sores. But we keep her head turned basically to the side. She will, that's where she's at. And then every little bit, every couple hours, probably every 2 hours or so, we turn her head this way, unless she gives us a reason, but she never does really. Okay. We suction her routinely through the mouth because any oral secretions, they just need to come out that way. And then she's got a feeding pump. So she's on that continuous feed all day long, different rate at night and day. But other than that, it's continuous. But I mean, her days, there's not like, as long as she's healthy, there's not a lot to it. We're pretty simple because we're so germophobic, like just worried about illness. So we don't get out a lot, especially this time of year. Right now, if anyone's listening to this later, it's January 16th right now. So it's massive cold and flu season. So this time of year, she doesn't get out much. We went out today because she had a well visit at our pediatrician. Fortunately, they actually came out to our van.
Oh, really?
They came right out. The doctor, who Laura also knows, Dr. Walter, Stephanie Walter, who we also went to high school with. Okay. She came right out. I mean, we're not the only one. I saw other doctors in the parking lot going to other patients. So their whole office.
That's great. I guess I've never realized that was an option.
Yeah, so that's the time of year because it is so bad. So they came out, and then we wanted a flu shot, and she was due for some other vaccines as well. So the nurse came out after Dr. Walter was done, and they came right out, and 2 nurses came and did the other ones. So sorry. The point is we get out when we can. This time of year it's pretty minimal. So she tends to be in her room most of the time with someone in there, and the door's open. We have our house set up such that it's part of the house at all times. So I can see her at it right now. I don't, because she's sleeping, and I can see her monitor that shows her pulse ox. But yeah, her day is simple. But she's happy. So yeah.
What are some of the things that she enjoys?
She likes being outside. That's when you can tell that she gets the most chill when she's outside, because she just, she's nonverbal in the sense that she can't talk, she can't articulate, but she can make noises. Okay. She can, get her vocal cords vibrating, and, you can tell if she's angry, if sometimes when she's laughing, you can kind of tell. And then if she's just talking, because sometimes it's like she's just in there talking. She's just talking to she's talking to her teachers, or because they do video TV at video school. Or if she's watching a show and she's like, you go like, are you okay? Yeah, she's fine. She's dead eyes watching her show, and she's just chatting away. So I don't, it's it can be tough. You don't necessarily know what she's talking about, but she's happy. But I don't remember what your question was. So
you had mentioned, I don't either. You had mentioned that cognitively she's right where she's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So what are the ways that she communicates?
So communicates. She's much. She blinks. 1 long blink for yes, 2 blinks for no. She's better with her mom than she is with me. She's better with her teachers than she is with me. She can be ornery. But yeah, so she's that, and she does have an eye gaze and eye tracker device. It's hit and miss. I'm a pretty upfront guy. I'm not gonna sugarcoat things. It's not all easy. It's not all like, oh yeah, just put this in front of her and she can talk. It's not like that. It's not like knowing English and learning Spanish. It's not a new language. It's, you don't know how to talk, and now let's learn to talk. It's a very different switch to flip. Not a different bedroom, not a different room in the house. This is living. I'm using weird analogies, but the point is, it's very different. In my mind, I'm like, when you start talking about like eye gaze, which is such an awesome tool because it tracks perfectly
It's
for her.
incredible.
It is. You think, oh, this is it. This is the key that's going to unlock my daughter. And it's like so exciting. But it's again, I'm not good at sugarcoating things. It's not. It doesn't work just like that. It's not like, okay, well, now she's going to just start forming, and telling me everything about her day.
Right.
It's much more limited. And
sure.
we've used to various devices where she could tell us when she's like. It used to be one of the biggest uses we would have for it is when she was upset and we just couldn't figure out what it was. What's bothering you? And we could put it in front of her and she would go right to, this is what's hurting or this is what's bothering me. And
that's great.
It was like, that was what gave me the most confidence that it worked and she knew how to use it because every time she would show us, we would do what we knew needed to be done for that. And boom, she wasn't fussy anymore.
Wow.
It's like, oh, you just, doesn't matter. But you had a stomach ache, you had a headache, you had something, you needed your head turned, you needed this, whatever.
Yeah.
And it fixed the problem. She was happy again, which is she's usually happy. So when she's not, it's stressful.
Right. Right.
And
something's up.
I don't know about, I can't speak to other diagnoses, and I can't even speak to other, well, I do know with other SMA kids, they have an amazing ability to alter their heart rate. And we've talked to the cardiologists about this. I mean, it's a thing where, she can just get your attention. Right now she's sleeping and her heart rate's 73 right now. Okay?
Oh, she's asleep then.
Yeah. And she usually, when asleep, she'll drop like down to 55. She just gets
Briella gets there too sometimes.
And then it sets off the alarms. And it's like, what's going on? Oh, she's just chill. Her saturation's fine. She's just super relaxed. But so she sleeps usually around, we'll just say 70s on average. But when she's awake, she might be 90s to the low hundreds. And that's changed throughout her years of life.
Yep.
But she can be wide awake watching TV. She's 98. Next thing you know, it's 1:30. What's going on, Nella? You didn't just run a sprint. You're right there. And it's like, oh, you want to watch something different? So, just by being upset, by being irritated, her heart rate, that may sound simple to most people. You put yourself on a heart rate monitor, you getting upset does not raise your heart rate by 40 beats per minute. It just does not happen. You have 40 beats fuming and puffing, but no, she's up like,
whoa.
So anyway,
I didn't know that. That's fascinating.
Like we know her mood just by looking at those numbers.
Yeah, for sure. So you have three other kids. Your oldest is 13, 14?
13.
And then how old is your youngest? I'm drawing a blank right now.
He said, youngest is 2.
What's the relationship like with the other kids and Nella?
It's very different for each of them.
Okay.
So because Bowen, of course, grew up with her.
Yeah, because he was 2, right?
Yeah, he is 2. Yep. So he got to we've got lots of cool videos of him going in there and just telling her about his day at school when he was in first, second grade, and he's got his Bowenese that he speaks, and it's just so cool to watch him and listen to him talk to her.
Love that.
And then so he's always been real protective and worried, checking up. How's Nella? How's she been? I know she's been, whatever. He's protective in that way. Corwin's he'll want to help me with stuff hey buddy, I need you to listen out for her because I need to go do this. I'll be right back or whatever. And then Trixie, she's she's only 2, but she's always like, hi Nella, or good night Nella, and then she wants to go in there and give her a kiss and a hug.
I love it, man.
Yeah, that's more or less the
right. No, that's so great. I love it. Do you think since Nella, do you think you're the way you parent has changed at all?
Um,
It's kind of a, I don't know how I would answer a lot of these
yeah,
questions. That's why I like asking them.
yeah.
Woo!
I would say that I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I can't say it necessarily because Bone was 2 when Nella was diagnosed. So I didn't have like
We're
a,
early in the dad game.
yeah. I mean, I didn't, if he was 10 and I'd already been through some parenting and all of a sudden I changed my protocols, if you will, with other subsequent kids, then I could tell you. But
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to be too lofty and be like, oh yes, it's changed my outlook on life, and now I look at things completely different. I mean, some people do that, and I don't mean that. When I say it like that, I don't mean to sound like people that say. I believe people are sincere when they say that. I
Right.
can't say claim that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I was trying to think. So you do get to go out with Nella, but it's not like an easy thing to do.
No.
Right? Yeah, I mean we did the Fifth Third Riverbank run. So Baron and I ran I'm gonna say 25K, but no one knows what that means. No one uses that. So we ran. You're so annoyed by that. I love it. We ran.
No, I'm just waiting for you to do the math.
I can't. Is it 15? Is it
15? It's closer to 16.
Is it really?
Yeah.
We ran closer to 16
it's
miles.
15 point. Yeah, because isn't a 5K 3.1 miles? So I guess it's 15.5.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So 15 and a half miles. We ran with our girls who, both had to be pushed. And that was quite the task. But like, I have a picture. I don't even know if I've shared it with you. But I have a picture of you like outside of the van because we both have the same van, the bus. But like, there's just it takes a lot of effort to get Nella in the car, to get her, hooked up how she needs to be, to make sure all her stuff is in place, and then to get her out, and then for you to just run that distance is just ridiculously impressive on its own. And then now you're pushing her is just crazy. But I say all that because like getting out is tricky. Has that impacted like church at all or your faith at all? Like has that changed? Are you able to do some church activities since Nella?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's a tough one. It's a tough one to answer. It's a tough one to be honest with. So as Grace and I both grew up going to church, weekly. And, I mean, barring outside circumstances, yeah, every single week. And then when we met at a Christian university,
really?
Yeah, Graceland University. It's a small Christian school.
Okay.
And I mean, I won't say that we were as good about weekly attendance when we were in college, but when we rejoined the real world, we were weekly. Grace was involved as one of the teachers of the high school youth whatever group. She and her friend basically taught that, or I don't remember exactly what. And I wasn't as involved in that way. I was a regular attendee, and I think I helped with a few like small things here and there. But yeah, we were regular attendees. When Nella was diagnosed, that stopped, and that hasn't recontinued since. So and it's tough because there's some internal strife with that as far as like but it wasn't because of like like a faith change. It was we can't take her there. Nella,
there's like crowds of sickness and
exactly.
I mean, there's so many factors.
Yeah, that was the motivation. That was or whatever, the protective influence. So we stopped attending in that regard, and never really just didn't get back into it. Now, Bowen, our 13-year-old, regularly goes. He goes with his with my parents.
Awesome.
So he goes quite often with them. And then Corwin, he attends his school is a Christian school, so he gets, and they do service every Monday, like at the beginning of the week,
Cool.
or sorry, like at the beginning of the class, the first day of the week. So they, I don't, and then Trixie will most likely go to that school as well.
Okay.
So we're trying to do the best we can with it to make sure that they don't miss out on what, because of our fears. But we've stepped away from a lot of our fears, or not stepped away. We've embraced and we've adapted and learned to do things differently than we used to. I mean, for a long time, pre-COVID, all of our groceries, anything that was perishable got wiped down and then put in the fridge, but anything that wasn't stayed out in the garage for at least 2 days before we'd bring it in the house.
And this was pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID. And it was, we masked up in grocery stores. I have plenty of pictures of me masked up on flights pre-COVID. I used to make a joke about it because I used to travel fairly often because I would teach. And about 8 times a year I would try, and I would take a picture of myself because I always would fly Southwest. And I just needed to be one of the first people or early on because that was it. That was Southwest first class, because you wear a mask on that Southwest flight pre-COVID. No one wants to sit by you. They all assume you're sick.
Wow.
And I would just take selfie. I did it probably 3 times. I would take a selfie of and showing that I'm the only person without someone sitting next to them. And it wasn't just once in a while. It was every single time I traveled. If there was an empty seat, if there was an empty seat available, it was going to be next to me. But so I just mean that was, we were used to that, and we were very, very, I guess my point now is we're more lax. We've embraced and accepted some of the just inevitabilities of certain things, and tried to actually just live life.
So nothing really majorly changed probably for COVID. I mean, during COVID, right? Because you were we just
had more home. We just had more kids home. They wouldn't go off to school anymore. Bowen was home.
Wow.
But COVID was not any different for us in that regard. We joked that, well, welcome to our world. That's what.
Right. Exactly. And I think that is pretty true for a lot of families that have the medical
no doubt.
complex children. That, I mean, this is just like washing your hands and using hand sanitizer is normal. Like, it's not like this crazy thing we're asking.
Yes.
So I always like to ask, because it's something that I am constantly working on and through, is there's a crazy balancing act as a dad. You've got 3 typical kids, and you've got one that comes with some serious complexities. And so how do you find yourself balancing the attention of Nella, but then also giving the attention to the other kids that they need and they deserve, and trying to do that, as best as you can with, being a husband, being you have a full-time job. I mean, it's not like you're just sitting around doing nothing. You have a busy life. So what is it for you that helps with that balancing of all that?
Yeah. That's always a concern, when you realize that one person is going to need more attention indefinitely,
Right.
Kind of So I think that one way or another, I don't know that we've done a great job of it, but I like to think we have, in the sense of, our kids are all active with sports or whatever. Like our oldest, plays football, is basketball. He's now doing wrestling. He's also snowboarding because that's the time of year. So, I mean, he went to practice today. He came home from practice and he ate dinner, and then we ran him over to Canonsburg. And so he was there for 2.5 hours, and now he's sitting on the couch way past bedtime. So I'm looking over.
There's no way he's hearing this.
10 minutes?
I love it.
Hurry.
I
He's
just have
supposed
to
to be.
finish. I'm just trying to finish this, and then I'll go.
Yeah, he's over there on his laptop, and he shouldn't have the
Classic.
TV on anymore in the background. Good. He doesn't. I can't tell.
This is
So
live action Baron
yeah,
at work.
yes, I've been like trying to not like, hey, about to say, hey, Andy, pause for a second. I just got to work that into it. That was even better.
Nice.
But yeah, there's no question. I think every parent has that fear that, oh, am I going to?
Yeah.
And again, I know we're not perfect about it, but we certainly try to not let anyone feel like they're not getting the attention they need. We can only do so much. But
do you have anything that you are purposely doing to try to help with that?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to think. No. I mean, I have purpose-driven things to make sure I'm involved with, just in general. And I mean that because I don't want to say, okay, like spending time with Corwin on his, sight words because he needs some extra work outside of he's 7 years old, first grade. He quizzes me on pre-algebra questions.
Oh boy.
Literally, he comes up. I mean, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. And I love it because I'm a math person. So it's like he's my little dude in that regard. But reading isn't, is something that he's okay. He does okay as far as school, but he wants to, we want to give him. So you got to spend a little extra time with him on that. And every kid's different. Bowen was back when you talk about like illness and things like that. One time Bowen I think he was sick, and this is back in Kansas City, and he was downstairs kind of in our basement. Like it was a finished basement. So he wasn't but he was kind of quarantined to keep away from Nella. Nella was upstairs. The main floor was the middle zone, and he was in the basement. And he had an iPad that he could, like has whatever kids chat thing that he could talk to us with. And he would ask us, hey, I need you to bring down this. I need this. And again, he's like 5 years old or 6 years old, and he's typing to us. Right. And he's reading books. And he's like, hey, Mom, what does this word mean? He would take a picture of it, and then she would explain. He'd be like, I don't know those words. but that was his thing, reading.
Wow.
Ridiculous. And so he could consume information very quickly. And so you got to pick how you work with each kid. Who knows how tricksy he'll be? We don't know. Yeah. But trying to spend time with each of the kids with their own, what do they need help with? Nowadays, Bowen, school-wise, he does his own thing, but it's get out in the driveway, play basketball with him. And I'm not great about that. I mean, I do it I want to, want to spend as much time as I can. And sometimes it's like, hey, buddy, I'm sorry. I got to do treatment right now. And he's totally like, yep, okay.
Right.
Maybe after. I'm like, if we have time, yeah.
Do you think he's ever bored of just like beating you so much in basketball?
Beating me.
I was hoping he'd hear that.
He can't hear it, fortunately.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Dang it.
Get to work.
I love it. So, so what do? You seem to be, for the most part, you seem to have a lot of good days. So I've been to your office before, and the hygienists have talked about you behind your back in a very, very positive way. And it was encouraging. A few times ago, one of them was just saying like, he just treats us so well. He's such a professional. He's like the best at what he does. And we all know what he has going on, and the anxiety and the stress that can cause, and that typically will affect people. But you seem to, I'm just saying, this is what I've noticed. I could be wrong, but you seem to have a good mindset. And, I realize that you are more optimistic, like you said, but is there something that you do that helps you stay focused or stay in a good mental spot? Because, I mean, realistically, you just like shouldn't have as many good days as you're having. Like it's crazy. And so what I mean, you got to share like is there a secret or something? Is it like something you're
Um,
drinking? Is it a
yeah,
lotion? Like what what is it?
yeah. Okay, so I think there's one big thing, but I'm going to come back to that second. I will say that, you know, it's really hard for people to fit in exercise and stuff, and I know what it's like. And I know that if I don't exercise regularly, I get really, I get the opposite. I mean, I start, and I get, because I'm a type 1 diabetic. Okay. So I know that
Yeah.
for me to be as healthy as I can be and me to be here on this earth as long as I can be for my family, like
Mhm.
I can't, the idea of of not taking care of myself makes me feel like a failure to them because
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not going to be around, or I'm not, I'm not going to be healthy. I'm going to start having other complications. And it's like,
Right.
that's lazy. That's like, not lazy, but that's selfish,
Okay.
taking the comfort of just not doing something. So,
So let me pause real quick and say what does that look like for you if you don't exercise consistently? What would we notice? Like what would Grace notice?
what would you notice? What would Grace notice? Two very different things. I will put on a face that you will see that
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you won't see the face that she'll see. She'll know that I'm just, yeah, I will not be in a good mood. I'll do what I need to do, but I'm not gonna be happy about it. I'm not an angry person in the sense of like, I'm
Right.
not gonna say anything about it. I'm just gonna be like, yeah,
Like are you saying like you're a little more short, not as much patience?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll get irritated with things that I shouldn't get irritated with. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that it has to be every day. I'm not like I just need to, if I haven't exercised 3 to 4 times in a week, like
Yeah.
my goal is majority. Like if I can do 4 days a week, I'm healthy. Like I'm way
Right.
healthier than the average person is the way I look at it. So if I get 4 times a week, now if it's been like 3 days in a row and I haven't done anything, and now I'm seeing that everything I eat, my blood sugar goes up, and I can't the same dose that normally would keep my blood sugar in check now
Yeah.
isn't. I got to do
Yeah.
more. I'm like, what's going on? And I don't want to. I'm not trying to go down the diabetic rabbit hole that it can be, but there's a definite change if I'm not fit or regularly, my metabolism changes, and therefore everything else. Because if it would, I do believe that if I didn't have that, I wasn't a diabetic, and I couldn't
Mhm.
just stare at my blood sugar throughout the day and know what was happening, I don't think I would be nearly as irritated when I wasn't working out. But I
Okay.
have this constant reminder. It's right in my watch. I can see where
Yeah.
I'm at, and I'm like, I'm high. I'm doing a correction dose to try to bring it down, and it's not happening. And I know why it's not happening, because I haven't worked out in 3 days, and my metabolism is slow as it's going to be, and everything is just junk right now. So it
Right.
makes me irritated. If I didn't have that constant reminder, I would still be, I think of myself as a lifelong athlete. I'm not
Yeah.
competitive, but so I
You're
would have that.
competitive. Stop it.
Oh, no, sorry, I don't compete, but yes.
Yeah.
um,
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
but yeah, it wouldn't be as pronounced, but since I have that reminder.
Yeah.
But I was going to say one other thing though. That I was saying there's two things that um, I want to say keep me upbeat. I'm very, very blessed. And I don't want to use that word too much of a cliche, but I've got so very much to be thankful for.
I love
Um,
that.
I am, and I'm very aware of it. I'm very aware that, I have a lot of things that other people don't have. Starting from my parents are still married in a loving relationship,
Yeah.
and they've been married for 50 plus years. 52 years, 53 years next month. So I mean, that I have that, and so many people don't have that, and that's like
Right.
just the foundation, right? I'm in my own loving marriage where we have our disagreements for sure, but I know people. I have plenty of friends that have relationships, and I know
Yeah.
I've got it good. I know that we don't have those. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Um, Bigger issues. So that, and then my kids. I mean, I've got awesome kids that I love, and I believe they love me back. And then and I say it like that because anyway, I feel very confident in that. And then professionally, thank you, buddy. I put it that. And professionally, I've also been very, very fortunate.
That's such a good attitude to have, man. Just feels so blessed.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be really. I mean, my biggest stress is I don't want to say depression, but like if there's something that makes me disappointed, it's not my stuff. I am disappointed, like for Nella. There's certain things that she won't get to experience, and I can't fix that. So there doesn't make a whole lot of sense to dwell on it. But I don't ignore that. But that is one thing
that's got to be tough because you're a fixer.
That is. I think I imagine many dads are. We that's again. I don't want to pigeonhole. That's what we have. The dad's role has to be, but I think that's fairly common.
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah,
we're trying to make things right, and I've talked to some of the guys at the Certain Hope meetings. And I can't remember his name. I think he built just up in Cedar Springs or North. They recently built. Anyway, he was talking about how they wanted a single story house, and because they wanted to make sure their son could get everywhere. And they're like, the builder's like, well, we can put in a basement. Most people have a basement, and he's like, no. If he can't go in there, I don't want it.
Right.
And now I have a different take on that, and that's okay. Okay, we're building right now. We have a basement, and Nella's. Other than me carrying her down there, she's not going to be, in there. And that's okay. It's the difference of, but I saw that in him, and I was hearing it. I'm like, he is doing exactly what he needs to do for his family to do, what he thinks to take care of them. And it's like so cool. And you go to those men's meetings, and it's like you just hear that left and right.
Right.
Yeah. So I've heard a lot of those types of stories of how people are adapting and making things the best they can for their kids. And I'm sure it's for the case for all their kids, but obviously we tend to focus on our affected kids at those.
For sure. I had a, sometimes I've been having these, like, I call them brain farts.
Senior moments.
Senior? That is rude.
You're getting up there, dude.
If I could come through this.
Your beard's almost as gray as mine.
It's the light. I think it's the lighting. I think that's got to be it.
You must have some glitter in there to make it. That must be what it is.
All right. A couple more questions. I have so many, but there's just a couple more. What's something that you experienced with Nella specifically? I know you're gonna have this with all your kids, but like specifically with Nella, what's something that you've experienced with her that you wish you could just like bottle up and hold and keep and never forget?
I think of pictures of us, things that we've done together, and there's one I can think of right now. It's just a simple picture, an event, but you can see it's like you see a can of Coke in a movie and you can taste it type of thing. I can see the picture and I can feel what it felt like, and it's just a picture of me in a recliner chair or whatever, and this is in Kansas City, and I'm just holding her. I'm literally, I'm just in my arms. I mean, that's as simple as that. I mean, because I think of that, and I think of a time where we were in a pool, and she was, had her mask, not a trach at the time, but a mask, and her vents off the side. But I'm in the corner of the pool holding her while she gets to kind of feel the pool, and she's in it. And that was, there's two very different moments, because one was all about her and one was all about me. In the chair, me holding her. I don't even know if she enjoyed it, but I did. The one with us in the pool, I enjoyed it. I did, but that was about her getting to experience it. So those two. I mean, yeah, both of them revolve around holding her and experiencing that.
Right. What have been some of the good that has come from some of your most difficult moments? I mean, you guys have had, and I've only known you. What is it, like 3? I'm sure you know how many days it is. Huh?
It would be about 3 years because it would have
About,
been
yeah,
spring baseball.
yep,
It
pretty
was
close to
just
3
shy of 3 years.
years. And you guys have, I mean, just in that short time frame, you guys have had a few moments that were pretty scary with Nella, and I'm assuming there's been plenty more way before that. So you've had some really difficult moments. You've had some probably just some situations that are gonna impact you for forever. But what are some of the good things that you've noticed that have come from those really, really difficult times?
Trying to think of, like, I'm so focused on something else that isn't, I don't think is the right answer to your question. Meaning, like, it's a, I'm gonna say something because it's such a big thing for us, and it's not a direct answer to your question. So I'm sorry, but I think it's related. It's more.
I'll probably accept it.
Okay. It's the biggest thing that has come from Nella's diagnosis in general. Our life change, if you will.
Yeah.
Is she brought a lot of she has brought a lot of awareness to SMA. I mean, we don't. She has a Facebook page that we haven't been active on it for years. When we first started the page, she was. It was just a page to reach out to family, so we didn't have to tell every family member the same story. Nella.
Okay.
It's called Prayers for Nella, but it was like family for our family to pray for her and our friends.
Yeah.
But it was a public group because we weren't trying to limit, and only accept people. And then next thing you know, it's got over 30,000 followers.
Whoa.
So, because it used to be something that we posted in every single day, and we would talk about her. We had Nella's bucket list of things that, because at that time we don't, we're trying to get things done and whatnot. But so that was cool as far as just people would start, like fundraisers for different groups that raise money for SMA, and so they would, like, in Nella's honor, and that was cool. That's cool that it was bringing awareness and getting people out there, not just that it's giving awareness to SMA, but getting people out there doing things that are good. Meaning, fundraising for anything like this is good. If that makes sense. Like, it's not even the condition. It's that you're doing something, you're taking time away to help others, and that's great. But the one biggest thing of all that immediately affects SMA was it got Grace involved with a group that was pushing for newborn screening. So now Grace had to speak to the Missouri State Senate, the Missouri House. She spoke to the FDA.
Was she ready to rock that, or is that like a frightening experience?
I don't know. Woo. I mean, she had to speak at panel discussions. She's on a stage speaking in front of the FDA. And Missouri was the very first state, and that's where we were living at the time, that added SMA to the newborn screening, the standard newborn screening. Cool. I mean, it costs like $100 to add that test to the which seems so small to us.
Yeah.
But I get it from a state perspective, because if insurance isn't going to cover it, someone has to. So the state has to come up with the fund. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. So that's why it wasn't just a slam dunk. Oh, sure, let's add it. But see you, buddy. Good night. Love you, bud. So up until then, it was. There wasn't treatment. So it wasn't until there was a viable treatment that it was. So I don't want to spend too much on this for your sake, but getting that added to it, now all 50 states have it, which means that
And
every single, and since there is treatment in the cure treatment, it has to be administered within the first couple weeks of life. It's
oh,
not in the
okay.
newborn screening. You don't find out till they're 2.5 months old. Well, guess what? It
Whoa.
might save them. It might, but they're not going to have the same life. Now it's like those kids, some of these kids, I don't, it's still new enough to hard to say, but you've got 5-year-old kids that are type 1 spinal muscular atrophy that should have, and they don't have anything.
What?
They're at school, walking around playing sports, all because they got this treatment done immediately after birth.
That is incredible.
So that, I mean, again, 1 in 6,000 births are affected by this.
I guess that
How many
classifies as
lives?
something good.
Yes. So,
oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. Millions of, the way I look at it, that's millions of lives saved. It will be.
That's so
yeah.
great. Wow.
Yeah.
What is last-ish question? What is something you wish somebody would have told you when you were first starting out on the diagnosis disability journey? What is something you wish someone would have told you that would have helped you in the very beginning and that you would have listened to?
Nothing I would have told myself would I have listened to, probably. I don't know if I talked to you about this question before, or if when I was listening to another interview, that I was like, I had an answer, but so now I'm blanking on what it was, because all I can think what it was is the fact that you're not going to fix everything, and it's going to be okay. Because there was a lot of things that I had aspirations of doing this and that and everything. And I created a lot of solutions to things, devices to help with certain things, and not everything, like I didn't finish all the projects I had.
Yeah.
I don't have regrets about that, but like I was stressed out about certain things, getting things done. And it's like, whatever you're doing is enough.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, yeah.
What was the first thing you said? You're not going to be able to fix everything, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That is like, it's so simple, but that's a hard one to allow yourself to believe, right?
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
I
yeah.
think that's true, but man, how many times a day do I beat myself up mentally and be like, why did you not catch that? You should have been there for that. That's a huge one.
And to dial it in a little more, it's not like the obvious. Of course, I'm not going to change her condition. And I'm
Right.
not, it's not that, but it's all the things that you think you need to do. You need to do this, you need to do that. Do what you can.
Yeah.
And whatever you did was enough. I mean, it is. What's going to happen is going to happen, and you just doing what you can, what your body, what your brain, what you can do, and don't torture yourself about if I just put a little more effort.
Right.
I'm sure you put in the effort you could manage.
Yeah.
That's like it's like, sorry, such a random tangent, but back to sports. It's like, it's so easy to say, geez, you know what, when I was, that race that I ran, I know I could have put a little bit more and then I would have got that time. No, shut up, stop. You did. In that moment, you pushed as hard as you could. Like,
yeah,
no, I torture my own self about that stuff. And I could have. No, just okay. It's okay.
Yep. Yeah. No, I really like that. And I think those are good things too. Like you say it on like a show like this where there's gonna be a lot of strangers listening and they can believe it or not. But that's something that like I need to be reminded of almost daily. Like I would love for someone to tell me that like randomly, like, hey, like maybe that's a good challenge. Send another buddy a text this week and say, hey, what you're doing is great, and keep up the good work. You
are enough.
Yeah, seriously. All right, so you've got almost a full day to yourself. You have no responsibilities. For some reason, all the responsibilities are gone. You can be, yeah, this is a realistic question for sure. You can be as selfish. I expect you to be as selfish as you possibly can.
Okay.
What are you doing that day? What are your go-to activities?
It's probably going to be something bike related.
For
It's
sure.
probably going to be,
Which bike?
yeah, well, it's probably going to be, well, heck, right now I have a list of a pile of things that I could change out the bottom bracket and cranks on my gravel bike that need to be, because they're too long for me. And so I would do that. And then I would go on a long ride.
What's a long ride?
At least 2 hours. Distance
Okay.
doesn't matter. Distance
Gotcha.
doesn't matter, because I mean, if it's going to be just smooth trails and whatnot, it's going to be a lot more miles. If it's go out to Cannonsburg and sit there and trudge through that, it's going to chew up a lot of the time because it's got so many miles.
All right, so 2-hour bike ride.
2 hours of active biking, and a couple hours in the garage just turning a wrench is nice. If awesome. I can get if the sauna heater would work, get in that. And then other than that, I don't know. Lately, my obsession is just running over to the house, because we're building a house, and it's nice to see what's changed. Even though it's you go there 2 weeks later and they've just been working on drywall, it doesn't look any different. Because sorry, if anyone that does drywall, that it doesn't, from the casual perspective, there's not a lot of change in a week when you're mudding. So anyway, that, and then I'm definitely going to be watching a movie or
oh, really?
A few episodes of a show. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a surprise. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. Okay. I want to be out and about and get some stuff done, and then I want to chill and just enjoy my show for sure.
Yes. I love it. Well, hey, Baron, I seriously appreciate you giving me a little over an hour to ask you some questions that aren't the easiest to answer on the spot, and I'm so thankful that we're friends. It's been great, and I'm glad that we got connected, and you are someone that challenges me, and I know that this show's gonna help some other dads too with the wisdom that you've given. But thanks for being just a great guy, a really good example of keeping up with this fight and doing the best you can. And it's super encouraging to be able to watch you be a dad and a husband and a dentist and all the stuff you're into. And I get to benefit from the bike rides a little bit, and sometimes the runs. And so thank you so much for your time and just doing what you do so well.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think I feel very confident. I speak for all, at least the guys. I want to say that for all the stuff that you do as far as organizing events, things for us to get together and hang out and just be guys, just hang out. And then the family events. I mean, you guys, your whole family, and it's really awesome to see your family. I want to tell you that your kids are awesome. They really are.
I agree.
I don't want to say it doesn't surprise me that you and Laura are so into everything that the whole community does. I mean, that it makes sense. You guys create it, and it's a baby of yours, and you want it to be. But whether you meant to or not, your kids have so much ownership in it as well. They take ownership in it.
Yeah, we love that.
I think it's really awesome to see how involved they are, and I know there may be things that we don't see that are challenges. We all have our challenges, but there's no question that they want to be involved, helping with other families at these events and stuff. at the farm, and they're always helping. One station that they're having Axel wrestling with my son, and just completely entertaining him, even though he's 3 times the size of him, and just
I don't know who's having more fun that time.
Yeah,
Corwin or Axel.
I don't know, but anyway, your family is inspiring, for to say the least. So thanks for
that means a lot. I appreciate those words, and like I said, I appreciate you being on here. I think a lot of guys are going to benefit from our chat. All right, thanks a lot, Baron.
Thank you.